Why some men sabotage their girlfriends and wives. When it comes to romantic relationships, the most unsettling version of sabotage is when a man convinces you he's protecting you while quietly benefiting from your stagnation. Some women think relationship sabotage looks like cheating, and sometimes it does, but some of the most damaging sabotage doesn't necessarily happen through betrayal. It doesn't look like sabotage at first. It looks like concern. It looks like affection. It looks like, babe, you don't need to change anything. I love you just the way you are. Meanwhile, he's secretly terrified of what happens if you actually become the woman you keep talking about becoming. Some men don't want a girlfriend or a wife. They want a captive. They want someone who stays exactly where they are so they never have to grow. And the easiest way to keep a woman small is to convince her that she's already perfect, while quietly making sure she never becomes the version of herself that would outgrow him. That's the thing about relationship sabotage. It's rarely loud or obvious. It's rarely the kind of thing that you can point out and say, see, that's the problem. It's subtle and it's strategic. And it's always wrapped in just enough sweetness to make you doubt your own instincts. I've noticed that when women start evolving, certain men become strange. Let's say a woman decides she wants to go on a weight loss journey. She has a specific goal in mind and she wants to feel good in her own skin. Suddenly, her man becomes the president of body positivity and consistently tells her she's fine exactly the way she is and that there's no need to do all of that. Now, he's bringing home her favorite desserts, ordering takeout every night, suggesting cheat meals every weekend, and telling her she doesn't need to change a thing. At first, it sounds sweet, right? But here's the twist. The same man who says, you don't need to lose weight, is the same man who will turn around, usually when he's angry or feeling insecure, and reveal just how much he's attracted to the very same body type he was discouraging you from going after. That's the moment you realize the support was never support. It was control. It was his way of saying, stay where you are. Stay who you are. Stay someone I can predict. Because if you change your habits, you might change your standards, boundaries, and your tolerance for the bare minimum. And insecure men cannot handle that. This whole sabotage disguised as support thing can apply to so many other things. A woman wants to save more money. Suddenly, her man is encouraging expensive purchases. She wants to go back to school. Suddenly, he's questioning whether it's really worth it. She wants to start her own business, and suddenly he's concerned about the risks. It's funny how the concern always appears when her growth starts becoming real. So, why do men do this in the first place? It's because your growth threatens their comfort. An insecure woman is less likely to leave, less likely to demand better, less likely to challenge disrespect, and less likely to realize she has options. A woman who starts taking care of herself, on the other hand, becomes harder to manipulate. A woman who feels good in her own body becomes harder to control. A woman who is leveling up becomes harder to keep small. And some men don't want a woman who shines. They want a woman who stays dim enough so that they feel bright. That's why sabotage often shows up right when you're about to transform. Like, right when you're about to step into the version of yourself that would never tolerate the nonsense they've been getting away with. There's always a moment of realization that makes everything click, whether he makes a single comment or has some sort of slip up. In that moment, you realize, oh, you didn't want me to stay the same because you loved me. You wanted me to stay the same because it benefited you. That realization hits like a punch to the chest because suddenly every compliment becomes suspicious. Every don't worry about it becomes strategic. And every you're fine the way you are becomes a trap. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. At the end of the day, anyone who benefits from your stagnation is not your partner. They're your obstacle, and obstacles are meant to be moved. If you're leveling up, whether physically, emotionally, spiritually, pay attention to who claps for you and who gets uncomfortable. Pay attention to who suddenly becomes concerned. Pay attention to who starts creating obstacles that weren't there before. Growth exposes people, and so does your glow and self-respect. And the ones who sabotage you, they expose themselves the fastest. Because a man who loves you will never fear your evolution. A man who loves you will never try to keep you small. A man who loves you will never sabotage your rise. But a man who benefits from your insecurity, he'll fight your growth like it's a threat, because to him, it is. Protect your glow, protect your growth, protect your future self. And remember, anyone who tries to sabotage your evolution has already told you who they are. Believe them. Alright ladies, that is all for today's video. If you'd like to keep up with more of my content, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Reina Safo. One last thing, always remember to protect the woman you're becoming. I'll see you in the next one.